Ella. It's Nashville's #1 for all the hits, Hot 106.7, joined by the incredible Ella Isaacson. Hello, my dear.
Hi. Thank
Hi.
you for having me.
Of course. We were just talking about how we've known each other for about a year now, and we
Yeah,
still haven't met physically in person, but it feels like we have.
I know it does. And like, I'll be going to Nashville, I think, in like 2 weeks. I know we were trying to come this week, but then the schedule didn't allow. So I was hoping to be there in person, but we'll do it. It's coming in like a week and a half. So yeah.
Oh my goodness. Is your pupper coming, who I hear?
She is. She is. No, she's not coming to Nashville, but she is jumping on me currently.
Oh, well, she just wants to be a star like you. I understand.
I know she's got a star on her sweatshirt on her shoulder.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Perfect. What am I talking? She already is a star. What am I talking about?
She's more of a star than me. She's just throwing a unicorn at me and just telling me to throw it, but we're not doing that right now. We're just
Goodness.
a little bit money. Like just
Well,
give me
Ella,
5 minutes.
Ella, you are such a superstar. You are constantly putting out new music. And what's so incredible about the music you put out is it's all so good, but it all sounds different. Like, for instance, with Rude that you just put out, I mean, we are rocking out. It is dark. It is like grungy, dare I say.
Yeah.
It is, I feel like that's a trend or a sound that's sort of coming back. People are really embracing the rock side of things, which as
Yeah.
a former emo kid, I love. Talk talk about the inspiration for this one.
Well, that was funny because I remember when we first spoke that we literally both talked about how we were emo kids.
Yes.
Um, it's really amazing in the sense that because from when we first talked to now, I was kind of going through a big transition in my music, and about a year ago, I kind of decided that I just felt really drawn to my roots and music I grew up on. And then that sort of started to kind of spiral into other kinds of artists. So originally I was really inspired by like Billy Joel because I'm from Long Island in New York and New York City. And so that was one of my first inspirations. And then Elton John and then Queen, and it kind of Rude came around because I was away in Korea, and I just when I envisioned the song, I envisioned like the 80s movie with the panning of the girl up and like those rock grunge records, and it's kind of just evolved. We found love with the song, it just happened. And so we were originally doing sort of more classic rock leaning project, and it started to lean into grunge. And so I agree with you in the sense that I think that just also like the history and what's happened in the last couple of years, like I think we got a lot of angst we got to let out. Like
That is so valid. First of all, I never thought of it that way. Is that why punk rock and like angry sounding rock is coming back, because we're all just angry? Is that why?
so weirdly, I mean, well, weirdly enough, like I just as I was starting to get more and more interested in this kind of music, I started to study it a lot more and to study, the history around it. And apparently, because I was wondering, like, why am I drawn to this? Like, I've always loved it, and I loved it as a teenager, and like, why now? And so as I started to do more research, it actually is part of like history that like when things happen that are trauma on a large scale like this, whether it's war or things like that, that's why some of the biggest rock artists kind of came out of times of war, actually, so
Oh my goodness. History
yeah.
lesson from Ella Isaacson, everybody.
Sorry. No one wanted to know any of this, but I'm like a super nerd, so
Of course we wanted to know. This is interesting stuff.
yeah.
I want to touch on what you said about how you went into this sort of with like the 80s rock record inspiration. It kind of became something
Yeah.
else, but clearly you were happy with what it became because it's out for us in the world to experience. That's
Yeah.
so beautiful with any kind of art. And I'm sure as a songwriter, when you have like a clear vision of where you want something to start, but then when you create, it goes somewhere completely different and you end up somewhere different from where you started, but it still is something you're proud of.
100%. Well, I mean, that's also you always have a vision in your mind, and that's I came in with a really strong vision, like we said, but I think that's the beauty of like collaborating with people and trying to make something modern. You don't want to make something that's been done before. You know, you want to, there, of course, we all get inspiration from different time periods and different types of music, but I think it's really important to make it your own. And by collaborating and sort of getting in the room and just seeing what feels right and making those decisions in the moment, that's sort of how you create the originality, I think. And so I always leave room for that because it's just, you want that. You don't want to walk in and have someone hear your record and be like, ah, this sounds like a lamer version of something I heard 20 years ago, you know? So it's just, I mean, sorry, but like, so I wanted to put my own spin on it, but I did want that moment. Like I still wanted that this song could be that movie moment. And so sometimes it's like an image or a movie that inspires me, not only the music, but I knew I wanted a heavy like rock intro and that guitar riff to be super important. And our, you know, guitarist has really been part of our process for the whole song. And that's really interesting too, because it's so integral to what we're doing. And it's an instrument that's telling the story just like any other part of the song, you know?
Oh, incredible. I love how your mind goes in that direction of like how this instrument is going to tell this part of the story and how much of the story it's going to tell. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very musical. I think that's like what I wanted to do. I came from a classical and theatrical background and a very musical background, and I wanted to make sure that the project that I'm making really shows that because it's just who I am and it's what I love about music. It's just I like theatrics, you know?
Well, speaking of theatrics, not only can you make incredible rock anthems like Rude, since we
Yeah.
last spoke, you released probably my favorite song of yours, Armageddon, which I
Hey.
told you when I listened was like the perfect, like rainy montage scene from a coming of age movie when either like
Yeah,
best friends like just broke up or whatever. Oh my God,
yeah,
it's perfect.
yeah.
It really does at that point, like
Yeah,
summit the song. I mean, every song has a climax, but like you
yeah.
speak about Armageddon, and there's just so many like I love that song.
Thank you. First of all, thank you. And it's one of my favorite songs and it was probably like the first one. I think I said it to you at the time too. It really was the first song that kind of got me started down this path and where I really knew I wanted to make that kind of music, you know, and it happened and it kind of was like you know a little bit of like I'm going to ruin your life because you've kind of ruined mine and in a way and just if you come back again you know you're going to have trouble because I think that a lot of times like we are you know pop culture right the trend is like when he comes back and it's like you know when he comes back it's like you know a lot of you know you might be in a different place and it's like don't mess with my energy now like people a lot of times I think try to come back in your life that aren't serious and I wanted to tell a story about like there needs to be repercussions for people who play with your heart that way, you know?
1000%. I'm going to share one of my favorite quotes that my best friend told me. You've probably heard it. It's men never burn a bridge. They never will like make drama with you because they'll want to come back at some point and hit you up when they feel like it and when it's
Right.
convenient for them. We're not doing that in 2023. No.
My I was on the phone with my best friend and we just talked about this too about they just don't want to and nobody wants to be the bad guy and typically the male character has sort of played the bad guy role so now as we're all modernizing and we're changing and gender roles are changing I think like people don't want to be the bad guy anymore and I get that but sometimes like women have to be the bad guy the guys have to be the bad like at some point you just have to be honest about what you want and what you don't and that really is beautiful and that's love when you really love somebody I think the honesty that's what you want to give them so that they can go on and do the things that they're supposed to do and you can go on and do the things that you're supposed to do you know
I love how well spoken you are. I could just sit and like have you talk to me about anything all day and I would just be enthralled.
I know I'm
Enthralled.
like are we in a therapy session or an interview
That, that. Oh my gosh.
I'm totally benefiting from it so selfishly I'm like can we have a therapy session
Anytime, girl. Anytime. So not not only do you paint these beautiful scenes with your music and your lyrics, but you take your visuals for your music very seriously. Every clip I see of yours online is a brand new Ella, but it's still you, but it's like it's bright or it's dark. Like I feel like so much thought from you
Yeah.
goes into these visuals. You even made a canvas for one of your recent songs, didn't you?
Yeah, so we made a canvas and a video for, is it for Rude? Is that the one near the with the red? It's all a red black color scheme.
Yes, it was the one you were painting. I saw you painting it on a reel.
Oh yeah. So I paint too. Yeah. So I did that. I didn't know if you
Amazing.
I'm a very like visual person, so I like to paint. But yeah, I mean, I think especially going into this new chapter, I think everything has, you know, we do think about color schemes and we do think about the world that's living in, and we wanted the video to kind of feel like purgatory, like different rooms in purgatory. So kind of, or like the devil's in hell, like the hot she devils in hell a little bit. So everything's red and black, and like the clothing and the lighting. And I just think that when we watch movies, right, like I'm really into film, so when you're watching like a Guillermo del Toro film or anything like that that leans into like darkness and fantasy, like there's a tone to the way that it looks. And so I try to keep that in my, when I'm telling my story visually as well. So it can be different depending on the story that I'm telling. This new chapter is definitely very visual driven.
Yes, I love that. As a video nerd myself, and
Yeah.
as someone who shoots music videos and things on the side,
I know that.
I am all about how is this going to look? I see pictures in my brain and I'm like, all right, you stand there. That's how we're shooting this and go. So
100%. And I'm sure also like how does it feel? Like I try to think about the things that maybe the person who's watching on the end doesn't actively notice, but what they feel inside, and so I don't know if that makes any sense, but
oh yeah, no, it's so subconscious too. It's not like the
yeah,
explicit messages you're giving. It's the little things that the brain will pick up on that you don't
right.
realize you're putting together, but you
Yeah.
do.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
So
Again.
like there's a moment in the video where one of the amazing dancers that we had in the video, she's kind of leaning back like this, and there's this like stop motion effect.
Yeah.
And I really wanted that because I love True Blood, and they do a lot of stop motion effects like that. And so I just wanted something that kind of gave reminiscence to that visual and kind of brought in that world as well.
I like that word you just used.
I don't know if it's a real one either.
Oh, even better, even better. We're this is a creative space this evening, Ella. It's all fine. You you are truly an artist in every sense of the word, literally, because you are a musician, you are a musical artist, you are a painter, and
Yeah.
what I loved to learn the other day, you are an ice skater, like a really good ice skater too. Wow. How did that come about? How long have you been ice skating?
So I ice skated for about 8 years competitively when I was younger.
You have so much talent in so many different ways. That's awesome.
Thank you. To be honest, it's really funny. Like a lot of people don't know that I ice skate, or that like the other day was the first time I ever posted about it, and it was the first time I'd done it in forever. It was my first day on the ice in since I was about 15.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, because I kind of quit and I didn't look back. I think
Yeah.
that's and
Yeah.
it's a really hard thing to sort of just do and pick up when you've spent your a good portion of your world and your life doing it. So I think for me it was like I think so many people in the arts go through this, and I'm so glad it's changing. I think things like TikTok and we're just breaking out of the box a little. People can have a lot of different types of talent, and I think when I was younger, you sort of people wanted to put you in a box. And also like I think when I didn't, you fall down a path of like loving something so much but then being so goal oriented about it. And I think like once I sort of didn't feel like I was going to the Olympics, I didn't totally know what I wanted to do with ice skating. I think I just sort of fell away from loving it, and the training was challenging, and also like I just couldn't keep it up in the same way. You really need to be dedicated and doing it like 5 to 6 days a week, and at a minimum, so but I loved it. And I think when I went back to it the other day, I was like, I love this. This is not about a goal. I don't want anyone to put me in a box anymore. Like, I'm allowed to love multiple things, and that's okay. And I think so often, especially as artists, we're told not to be that kind of person. And I'm just like, I'm going to keep ice skating, and this is part of my journey, and I want to get back to it. And I want people to see we are not in a box. We are varied people with a lot of likes and a lot of interests, and those make us better people, you know?
Do you think realizing that the other day when you were on the ice, do you think that that subconsciously has helped you with your music and being a musician too? Your time being an ice skater and sort of realizing I don't need to be in a box. I
Mm.
can create and be whoever I want. Do you see a connection there?
I do. I mean, I think my background in figure skating made me like relentless, right? I think when you have a
Yeah.
skill where you have to fall, right? Like no one who does ice skating can't fall. You're falling multiple times a session, you know? So it's like, when you're doing that 5 to 6 days a week for the bulk of 8 years and you're falling on your tush every single second. I mean, it's like the idea is you fall and you get back up and you're gonna try something 100 times and you're probably not going to get it to the 100th, and you're going to get it, and then the next day you're going to try on the 100th one time, you're going to fall again, and you're going to keep doing it. And so I think that mentality really instilled something in me as a young person. I don't know, like you said, all subconscious and unconscious, but I think you receive a lot of rejection in this world that we're in.
Mhm.
It is what it is. And I think I there's so many people who said this different quotes, but the idea is like, who stays in the room? I think JC said it. He's like, who's willing to outlast everyone else and keep working hard and keep being really good? And, you keep sharpening your skills. And if you have talent, and for anyone out there who's doing this and doing music, it has its challenges, but like great music and great talent finds a way, it always does.
Wow. What a beautiful summary of the very valuable experience you had and bringing it
Yeah,
into the now and into who you are as an artist and a creator now.
thank you.
With a theme we've had throughout our talk so far has been this new chapter, this next chapter for Ella Isaacson.
Yeah.
Tell us what we can look forward to in this current new chapter we're seeing unfold right now.
So definitely a continuation of these kind of guitar and rock influences. It's been in the making for a year. I'm so excited. We already have the next single on the horizon. It's coming soon. So
How
look
soon?
out. Yes. I don't want to say an exact date because I don't have it, but
Okay.
it's soon. It's soon. We're finishing it. We're potentially adding another artist on it with me, so that's going to be really exciting. And yeah, like it's very cool. Just like Rude has a very specific theme and tone, this also has its own whole story. And every single song, and it really does, it comes out of a part of my life that happened, or a dream, or the way that I'm sort of handling different parts of my world, and my you know love and relationships, and where I am now. And I feel like in such an empowered place. It was such a journey to get here after my other music. So obviously I had a really horrible breakup, and it was really hard for me to get back to a place where I felt good, and I felt powerful, and I felt better than I'd ever felt. It was like a building blocks at a being so broken. You got to build yourself from the bottom and go higher than you ever did before. So it will be in the music for sure.
What a way to kick off National Women's History Month with
By
one
the
of the
way,
coolest women in music, in my opinion. You are so easy to support, Ella. I
thank
adore
you.
you. I'm so
I
excited
adore
you're
you.
sharing all of this new work with us, and you're simply the best.
Yeah. You're the best. I'm so glad we got to connect again. It makes me so happy, and just you constantly inspire. I'm always like literally like looking on your socials, and I'm like, she's just so amazing. Like you really inspire me, and I'm sure so many women too. So I appreciate that you feel that way about me. I constantly am like, she is just killing it all the time. I keep looking at you, because we write each other also too about it. But I do feel that way, and so I feel very lucky to get to kick off Women's Month with you. So.
Well, we will stay tuned, and I can't wait to chat next time, my dear. Thank you so much.
Me too. I'll see you soon in Nashville.